Querido Pedro, señora viceconsejera de Universidad, Investigación, querida Lorena, querido profesor Südhof, querido director del IBIS y miembro de nuestro Consejo Asesor de Biomedicina, profesor Fernández Chacón, comandante Lombo de la Academia de Cabos y Guardias, ponentes y asistentes al workshop especial en homenaje a nuestro Medalla de Oro, representantes del Ateneo, de la Asociación de Fibromialgia y demás colectivos de la ciudad, vicerrectora de Enseñanzas Oficiales de la Universidad de Jaén, miembros del equipo de gobierno de la Internacional de Andalucía, personal de la Casa, señoras, señores, buenas tardes ya. Hoy es un día emocionante. La entrega de la Medalla de Oro de la Universidad siempre es un acto cargado de enorme significado. Es la máxima distinción de esta casa y, como tal, su concesión es una decisión muy meditada. Se entrega en reconocimiento a una trayectoria, al impacto sobre la sociedad, a la proyección dentro y fuera de nuestras fronteras. No me cabe duda de que el profesor Thomas Südhof reúne estos y otros muchos requisitos que pudiésemos citar. Pero esta medalla no es solo eso. Es la expresión, si me lo permiten, del cariño de las personas que forman parte de esta institución, de la Internacional de Andalucía en general y de la Sede Antonio Machado en particular. Lo podemos considerar fruto del azar, de la serendipia, como dicen algunos, pero la llamada del Comité del Nobel durante el paso del profesor Südhof por esta ciudad hace que este premio tenga cierto o gran sabor a Baeza. Sabor a oliva, sabor a virolo. Seguro que Juan Carlos, el chef de Valdelvira, nos haría trasladar esos sentimientos a uno de sus maravillosos platos. Debe saber el profesor Südhof que esta forma de acercarnos a su reconocimiento está muy lejos de querernos apropiar de su galardón. Justo lo contrario. Es un sentir muy propio de la cultura andaluza. Cuando alguien nos emociona, cuando nos sorprende o nos inspira, aquí lo expresamos sintiendo lo nuestro, trayendo a la persona a nuestro círculo más íntimo. Es nuestra forma máxima de reconocimiento. Por eso, profesor Südhof, sepa usted que es usted un Nobel muy nuestro. Gracias por su aportación al campo de la biomedicina. Gracias por compartir sus conocimientos con esta sede. Y, por supuesto, gracias por inspirar y potenciar desde nuestras aulas la carrera de tantos doctorandos e investigadores andaluces. Compartirán conmigo que reflejar calidez en las palabras es siempre más fácil en la lengua materna, por eso lo he hecho en español, pero estamos en la Internacional. Por deferencia a nuestro invitado, ahora pasaré a utilizar el inglés. We all know the story of how Professor Südhof was told he had been awarded the Nobel Prize. The famous call from the Karolinska Institute, I will not repeat the story today, all you know. But there is something I would like to draw your attention to. That particular moment was a matter of chance. His being in Baeza was not. At the International University of Andalucía, our current Trends in Biomedicine workshop series is one of our greatest source of pride. It is the result of the work of many people with a crucial contribution from its advisory committee. Their judgment has allowed us, year by year, to build the prestige of this postgraduate university. In round numbers, we are talking about more than 1,200 people, as invited speakers, professors, young students, among them 5 Nobel Prize laureates, including Professor Südhof, and similar number of candidates for that honor. The Antonio Machado campus and the city of Baeza have earned a place of their own in the international scientific calendar. This is due, as I said, to the work of hundreds of people who have helped us organize these workshops. It is also due to the generosity of people like Thomas Südhof, who devote part of their valuable time to sharing ideas and knowledge. As our well-known poet Antonio Machado wrote, en cuestiones de cultura y de saber solo se pierde lo que se guarda, solo se gana lo que se da. When it comes, voy a tratar de traducirlo, when it comes to culture and knowledge, we only lose what we keep to ourselves. We only gain what we give. That is one of the reasons why the governing council of this university decided to award this medal. And it is also one of the reasons why we are committed to ensuring that our workshop programs continue for many years to come. Because they are an opportunity to share, because they are our way of contributing to the next generations, our way of helping young Andalusian scientists connect with the international community. By helping to turn the time spent here together with research stays abroad, with participation in new research projects, etc. Thank you, Professor Südhof, for being over these years a true partner in this initiative, for your generosity toward younger generations and toward the entire scientific community, for helping to shape a field that touches people's life so directly. Muchas gracias. Thank you very much. Now, I will give the floor to the director of this place, this sede, José Manuel Castro. You have the floor.
Thank you, Rector. It is a great honor for the Baeza campus of the International University of Andalucía to host such a significant and important event. Therefore, I would like to welcome all those present here at this event, authorities, colleagues from the university, the governing team, ladies and gentlemen, and I also want to welcome the participants in the workshop that has just concluded this morning, both speaker and participant, and thank everyone for their presence. And finally, of course, I would like to thank Professor Thomas Südhof for his presence once again in our campus, which for many years has been his academic home, where he has generously shared his knowledge with successive generations of young scientists. Thank you very much.
Thank you, José Manuel. Before we begin the formal ceremony, I would like to give the floor to Rafael Fernández Chacón as representative of the Advisory Council of Biomedicine of the International University of Andalucía. Rafael.
Hello? Now, yes. Okay. Good afternoon, everybody. Rector Magnificus of the International University of Andalucía, dear José Ignacio, Deputy Minister of the University Research and Innovation of Regional Government of Andalucía, dear Lorena, Secretary General of the University of International of Andalucía, Director of the Antonio Machado campus, dear José Manuel, dear Major of Baeza, their authorities, civil, military, colleagues, friends, ladies and gentlemen. It is both an honor and a privilege to be part of this ceremony marking the presentation of the UNIA Gold Medal to Professor Thomas Südhof. Congratulations, Tom, on receiving this distinguished, deeply meaningful, and thoroughly deserved honor. Professor Südhof is the Abraham Goldstein Professor and a Professor of Molecular and Cellular Physiology, Neurosurgery, Neurology, and Psychiatry at the Stanford University School of Medicine, as well as an investigator of the Howard Hughes Medical Institute. Professor Südhof was born in Göttingen, Germany. He studied medicine and obtained his doctoral degree at the University of Göttingen and performed his doctoral thesis work at the Max Planck Institute for Biophysikalische Chemie with Professor Victor Whittaker on the biophysical structure of the secretory granules. After that, and with the idea of acquiring a more clinically oriented scientific training, he moved to the University of Texas Southwestern Medical Center in Dallas to the laboratory of Michael Brown and Joseph Goldstein. There, Thomas Südhof elucidated the structure, expression, and cholesterol-dependent regulation of the LDL receptor, discoveries that arguably contribute significantly to the Nobel Prize in Physiology or Medicine that soon afterwards was awarded to Drs. Brown and Goldstein in 1985. In 1986, Tom Südhof started his laboratory as a Howard Hughes medical investigator at UT Southwestern in Dallas, where he worked until he moved to Stanford in 2008. In 1986, he was fascinated with the idea of studying neurotransmitter release. At that point, though, not a single synaptic component had been molecularly characterized. Now, 4 decades later, a molecular framework that plausibly explains neurotransmitter release in molecular terms has emerged in great part thanks to the major contributions of Thomas Südhof. Among those key contributions are the discovery of molecular mechanisms underlying membrane fusion during synaptic vesicle exocytosis and the elucidation on how calcium sensing is mediated and controlled neurotransmitter release. His contributions have been published in a very impressive collection of more than 700 highly meaningful and data-rich papers in the best scientific journals. He certainly is one of the most renowned players of the contemporary neuroscience. More than 30 years ago, his laboratory discovered neurexin and neuroligands, proteins that later on turned out to be synaptic adhesion molecules altered in autistic patients. Thomas Südhof studies how synapses are formed to enable the establishment of the specific connections that build up a neural circuit. His research aims to contribute to our understanding of how synapses become dysfunctional and degenerate in neurological and neuropsychiatric disorders. Thomas Südhof is a member of the National Academy of Sciences, the Institute of Medicine, the Royal Society of the UK, the German Leopoldina Academy of Natural Sciences, and the American Academy of Art and Sciences. He's the recipient of multiple awards, including the National Academy Science Award in Molecular Biology, the Bristol Myers Award in Neuroscience, the Kavli Award in Neuroscience, the Lasker de W Medical Basic Research Award, and the Nobel Prize in Physiology or Medicine. Thomas Südhof's work has guided and inspired generations of young investigators, trainees, and collaborators across the world, some of whom are happily here today with us. I have the privilege of training in his lab, benefiting enormously not only from his mentorship, creativity, and scientific talent, but also from his daily example of discipline, hard work, independence, and genuine commitment to excellence in fundamental science. First time Thomas Südhof came to Spain for scientific reasons was in 1997 when he visited the Department of Medical Physiology and Biophysics at the School of Medicine in Seville. Since then, he has maintained a lively scientific relationship with Spain. Every year, in our Institute of Biomedicine of Seville, where I'm coming from, we name a scientist as EBIT Distinguished Investigator to recognize her exceptional contribution to the advancement of biomedicine. In 2015, Thomas Südhof was the first EBIT Distinguished Investigator. Here, where we are now, at the city of Baeza, the UNESCO World Heritage Site in Jaén, the International University of Andalucía organizes, as the rector presented, every year the workshop Current Trends in Biomedicine. And has been mentioned, Thomas Südhof has served as organizer and speaker in several workshops. Destiny decided, as we commented, that in 2013, he was indeed driving by car into Baeza when he got the surprising call communicating him the awarding of the Nobel Prize. That was a great day. So over the past 2 days, we have had the pleasure of being hosted by the International University of Andalucía to celebrate the workshop on synaptic mechanisms in health and disease. This workshop was inspired by the transformative discoveries of Thomas Südhof, whose 4 decades of pioneering research on the molecular machinery of neurotransmission and on synapse formation and specification have profoundly shaped modern neuroscience. Building on his legacy, this workshop that we have just celebrated has brought together international renowned experts, emerging group leaders, and attendants from the United States, China, Germany, France, Italy, Denmark, the United Kingdom, and of course Spain. Together, they have explored the molecular, cellular, and circuit level mechanisms that govern neuronal communication through synaptic function and dysfunction, highlighting both consolidating and established knowledge and the opening of new frontiers. We have also examined how disruption in these mechanisms contribute to neurodegenerative and psychiatric disorder, underscoring the enormous translational potential of synaptic biology. I would like to congratulate the UNIA for sustaining this workshop for more than 20 years, an effort that has helped carry the name of the UNIA and Baeza around the world as symbols of commitment with excellence in science. Thank you, Director, for your continued support, and my sincere appreciation to the personnel and staff of the UNIA at the Antonio Machado campus in Baeza for the impeccable organization and dedication, and without that work, this event would have not been possible. Thank you. To conclude, as an academic and a member of the scientific community, I would like to thank the UNIA for bestowing this recognition to Professor Südhof. This honor reflects the UNIA's deep respect for and commitment to scientific excellence and irreplaceable value in our society, and to the individuals who make such excellence possible, exemplified today by our dear Professor Südhof. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Rafael, for your words and for your commitment to this university. We now come to the ceremonial part of this event. Our Secretary General will now read the official record granting this distinction.
Buenas tardes. Acuerdo 38-2025 del Consejo de Gobierno de la Universidad Internacional de Andalucía de 12 de mayo de 2025, por el que se aprueba la concesión de la Medalla de Oro en la modalidad Antonio Machado a Thomas Südhof. El Consejo de Gobierno de la Universidad Internacional de Andalucía, reunido el 12 de mayo de 2025, aprueba la concesión de la Medalla de Oro en la modalidad Antonio Machado a Thomas Südhof, conforme a lo dispuesto en el Acuerdo 60-2024 del Consejo de Gobierno de esta universidad, reunido el 24 de junio de 2024, por el que se aprueba el Reglamento de Uso y Concesión de Símbolos, Distinciones Honoríficas y Protocolo de la UNIA.
Now then, Professor Südhof, would you please join me in front of the table for the conferment of the Gold Medal of the International University of Andalucía, please? Thanks to Professor Fernández Chacón, we have learned that Professor Südhof's skills on the oboe. In honor of his passion for this type of music, we wanted to bring the side of him into this ceremony. Cecilio and Juan José are performing for us this morning these beautiful songs by Manuel de Falla, the 7 Spanish popular song. So now, Professor Südhof, the floor is yours.
Good afternoon, everybody. Dear Rector, dear Deputy Minister of University, Research and Innovation, dear Secretary General of the University, and dear Director of the Antonio Machado campus, dear Mayor and Vice Mayor, dear Rafa, dear friends. First of all, I'm very moved by this ceremony. It's really very beautiful, and I have to say this looks incredibly, I don't know how to describe it quite. You know, sometimes words are limiting. I have prepared a short talk here for this occasion to express my thanks for this enormous event. Oh, I'm sorry. With some slides that illustrate what I'm trying to say. The beauty of Baeza has often been mentioned. I've had a wonderful history with this city. I've come here several times before, as many of you know, to attend the workshops that have been a catalyst of scientific innovation. This was initially motivated by Rafael Fernandez Chacon, Professor Rafael Fernandez Chacon, but in recent years has gone beyond my personal relationship with Rafa and the realization that these workshops and my just being in the city has been tremendously fruitful for science. My relationship with Baeza, as you all know, took a completely new, unexpected turn in 2013. As has been described before, as I was driving from Madrid airport on my way to a workshop, I had taken the overnight flight from San Francisco, I received notification of the Nobel Prize. Some people expect a Nobel Prize, I didn't. And that made it ever more special. It also gave me the first occasion ever, and probably the last occasion, to be on the front of a newspaper, as you can see. When I arrived, the meeting continued, although I had to leave early. And as you can see from these images, it was a very joyous meeting, but also a very productive meeting. My relationship with Baeza continued in 2017 when we organized with Professor Rafael Fernandez Chacon another workshop that I believe at least was a great success. During this workshop, the city of Baeza graciously gave me an opportunity to write into the book of the city, which was a very nice occasion, as shown here in these images from that time. I would like to now turn to the subject of the workshops themselves. It is incredibly important for us scientists to have meetings, but it has become, if anything, more difficult. On the one extreme, there are all these commercial enterprises that try to make money out of special meetings and stuff, you know, like predatory journals. On the other extreme, there are these vast meetings, conferences, where literally thousands of people get together but rarely talk. What makes the meetings in Baeza wonderful is the fact that here in the city, with this incredible surrounding, at the same time very much alive and a testimony to history, people can actually talk to each other about various subjects, as illustrated here again in this image from the 2013 meeting. to just give you a little bit of background for what I'm going to try to explain in the following, as Rafa already described, I started my lab in 1986 with the goal of deconstructing the molecular architecture of one particular organelle that is essential for communication between nerve cells and the brain, synaptic vesicles. We were interested in how it is possible, as illustrated in this slide here, for a presynaptic terminal to accumulate neurotransmitters and to release them within microseconds, an unbelievably fast, well-organized process. At that time, nothing was known. That was 40 years ago. And so we focused on the organelles, synaptic vesicles. And within the first 5 to 10 years, we accumulated the evidence that synaptic vesicles are unique organelles but at the same time similar to many other organelles. This work was greatly helped already then by my interactions, my international interactions with many people. In fact, much of my early work was in collaboration with Reinhard Jahn, a German scientist, and benefited tremendously from meetings, small meetings everywhere. During the 90s, my laboratory had grown to about 15 to 20 people, the same size it is now. What you see here is a typical image of the people in the lab, pretty wild. I'm sure you can see me here. Our work together led to the definition of a neurotransmitter release nanomachine that was recognized by the Nobel Prize. And what you can also see in this image is Rafa, just looking as beautiful as ever. There were many others who are still friends and colleagues. One of the aspects of being a scientist I enjoy most is the fact that as scientists, we really operate continuously in interactions with others, in exchanges, arguments, conversations, disagreements and agreements. That's part of being a scientist. So over the years, we, in collaboration with many other scientists, and other scientists also on their own, defined what I would call the nanomachine that mediates the ability of one nerve cell to talk to the other at a synapse, namely the nanomachine that mediates neurotransmitter release. And that nanomachine, as some of you know, and sorry for the distortion, it looked okay on my computer, of the images here, is composed of 3 different elements: a fusion element, a calcium triggering element, synaptotagmin, and a scaffolding element, as shown here, which is connecting everything together. I'm not going to talk more about the science. I'm only using this as a way to illustrate to you what that Nobel Prize in 2013, that fateful day for me, was about. Obviously, much remains to be done. This is not finished. But this work that was honored by the Nobel Prize provided a framework for future studies. The 2004 Baeza meeting, 10 years before the Nobel Prize, was truly important for my work, as were the other meetings, for me personally and for many others, which gets me to the major subject of what I wanted to discuss with you today, namely the importance of what I would call international communication, which is only really possible in meetings. We live in a very, very difficult times, not just in the United States, but especially in the United States. The United States used to be open to science and collaborating and very transparent. It used to be very merit-oriented. In the United States, we are now in the danger of losing that. The appreciation for science has decreased, if not vanished. And the fear of international interactions by some people in the government has become pervasive, made it difficult for us. I think science completely operates as an international endeavor. I don't believe in the opinions of some of my countrymen, I now feel like an American, who think that science is a national expertise which should not be shared but exploited only for a national advantage. Because science is really for humanity. And science can only develop productively in an interaction between different cultures. In fact, in the United States, we have benefited tremendous from these interactions, as you can see, for example, in the evidence that Rafa came to my lab and performed some of the most beautiful work we've ever done, as have others from other countries. So I think that having international meetings where people can come together is a critical component of innovation everywhere. And this should bring together people, not just from Europe, not just from the United States, but also from Asia. I think these meetings should have the best scientists. It is really important to have high quality science. I think also that these meetings should be in an almost monastic environment, an environment where people are not tempted to come and go and to do other stuff, but where they're basically together for a time and talk to each other during meals, coffee breaks, not just during the lectures. I think Baeza is wonderful for that, because it's just the right size, not too small, not too big. And it sometimes has a bit of this monastic 16th, 17th century Spain, which was after the Reconquista so much focused on spiritual questions. I also think that it's important to have these meetings in a manner where there's a lot of science, where everything is fast-paced, where people don't have too much free time. That's my general philosophy anyway. Because otherwise the rhythm isn't right and people don't really talk about science enough. That is what the Baeza meetings actually allow, and which is why it's good to have them, because there's only a short distance to the hotel or to the other places where people stay, and people stay together. So this is the reason why I think that these meetings, for me personally, have had a lot of positive effects, influence, have helped me do my science. And I hope, I have the impression, that that has been the case for others as well. I've often talked to people about these meetings, and they have always been enthusiastic about it. Thus, I think that having these meetings is really of great benefit to science, but I also think and hope that it is great for the local community, both for the people in Baeza, for the people in Andalucía, and for the people in Spain in general. I've observed that in many cases in Europe, people don't really talk to each other, even in the same country. And I feel that meetings like this one make it easier for people to talk to each other, because it's easy to come, but at the same time, it's far enough so people can't just vanish and go home easily. They have to stay here and talk to each other. So in closing, I would like to thank the Universidad Internacional de Andalucía, sorry, my Spanish is horrible, for making this possible. I would like to thank the city of Baeza for supporting these meetings. I think the support of the city is very, very important for this. And I would like to thank the, I don't know, what is it in Spanish, province, land of Andalusia for the support, because that's absolutely essential. And these meetings cost money, so they have to have a meaning for the people in order to justify the expense, of course. And I hope that it does justify expense. And finally, I would like to thank you all for giving me this great honor, which I treasure. I am truly touched, and I hope we can continue our relationship for many, many years and continue to work together and put these meetings even more onto a visible platform that will attract the best scientists and help, especially junior scientists, to develop their careers. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Professor Südhof, for your words. And now I would like to give the floor to Lorena Garrido as representative of... Oh, sorry. Oh, sorry. I didn't read. Yeah, okay. Yeah, sorry. And now, yes, now I would like to give the floor to Lorena Garrido as representative of the regional government of Andalucía. Lorena.
Muchas gracias, rector. Muy buenas tardes a todos. Saludar a mis compañeros de mesa, rector, y al equipo de la UNIA, al profesor Südhof, al alcalde, representantes del Ayuntamiento de Baeza, representantes del Fuerza de Cuerpo de Seguridad del Estado, al profesor Rafael Fernández Chacón, que muchas gracias y que ya hemos visto que has tenido bastante que ver en esto, ¿eh? Muy buenas tardes y permitidme que en primer lugar agradezca a esta universidad, a la UNIA, su invitación para participar en este acto tan especial para todos nosotros. Comparezco en representación de la Consejería de Universidad, Investigación e Innovación y disculpo a nuestro consejero, José Carlos Gómez Villamando, porque le hacía especial ilusión estar hoy aquí, pero por otros motivos de agenda, los miércoles hay Consejo de Gobierno y eso es ineludible, no ha podido estar, pero me pedía que os trasladara su felicitación. Y bueno, la presencia de hoy de aquí del profesor Südhof es una de las muestras de la relevancia internacional de las universidades públicas andaluzas. Gracias, profesor, por su estima hacia nuestro sistema universitario de Andalucía. Ha querido agradecérselo con la imposición de esta medalla de oro de nuestra querida UNIA, que ya el rector ha manifestado el especial cariño que le tiene al profesor. Y que, rector, no todos los días un premio Nobel engrandece los workshops y las actividades que hace la UNIA. Así que también enhorabuena por esa parte. Y mañana también con la imposición del título de honoris causa por nuestra Universidad de Jaén. Sin duda, la contribución que se ha hecho al estudio celular quedará en la ciencia en forma de avance y de legado para generaciones posteriores. Es un orgullo y un lujo que una figura científica de referencia mundial, premio Nobel y ejemplo de excelencia investigadora, se una de esta manera a nuestro sistema andaluz de educación superior, aunque creo, por las palabras que ha comentado el profesor y antes también ante los medios, que Baeza y la UNIA ya ha supuesto un punto determinante tanto en su vida personal como en su vida profesional. Como saben, nuestras universidades han ido ganando año tras año una gran proyección internacional, creciente y proyección que no ha sido ganada por inercia, sino que ha sido fruto de su trabajo diario, por alianzas serias y concienzudas y por la investigación de calidad y por una comunidad universitaria que cree verdaderamente en lo necesario de abrirse al mundo, ¿no? Y además en un contexto globalizado como el que vivimos, donde la educación superior compite por atraer talento, compite por generar conocimiento y por establecer las redes de colaboración a escala mundial, nuestras universidades están trabajando con determinación para fortalecer su presencia internacional. Y en ese empeño se cuenta con el apoyo del Gobierno de la Junta de Andalucía, cuyo compromiso de internacionalización de la Universidad Andaluza se ha materializado en varias medidas, pero en concreto resaltamos tres, ¿no? En primer lugar, al impulso de programas de movilidad internacional, como el que ya conocemos todos como Erasmus+, cuya financiación hemos vuelto a reforzar en los presupuestos de 2026 con una partida de 12,7 millones de euros para el complemento autonómico. Como sabéis, el programa Erasmus, las cuantías las determina el Ministerio y nosotros por parte de las comunidades autónomas las complementamos, y que incluye además una subida del 5% que se aplicará a partir del curso 26-27. Esa subida más la otra que se hizo ha llevado un incremento, hace dos presupuestos creo, del 10%. La movilidad no es solo para estudiantes andaluces que quieran salir al extranjero, sino también implica la llegada de estudiantes extranjeros que vienen a nuestras universidades públicas, lo que claramente genera un intercambio de conocimientos y de experiencias altamente enriquecedoras para ambas partes. Como segunda movida, igualmente importante de la movilidad estudiantil, es la movilidad del profesorado y del personal investigador, ¿no? Las universidades andaluzas fomentan activamente las estancias en el extranjero, donde se encuentran programas de recursos humanos destinados a la captación de talento internacional y al talento que regresa o que vuelve a Andalucía. En conjunto, solo el año pasado impulsamos la incorporación de casi 300 personas con las convocatorias de Predoc, de Postdoc, de Fulbright y de Emergia. Y la tercera de las medidas es la creación de titulaciones conjuntas internacionales, fruto de convenios con universidades, de nuestras universidades, con universidades de otros países. Y estas iniciativas permiten que los estudiantes obtengan titulaciones válidas en distintos sistemas universitarios, aumentando su empleabilidad y facilitando también la movilidad profesional. A partir de este curso, las universidades andaluzas desplegarán un total de 22 nuevas titulaciones de carácter internacional, incluidas en la programación académica que el Gobierno andaluz ha actualizado después de más de 14 años, casi 15 años, sin revisarse. Y bueno, en este escenario, las universidades de Andalucía han contribuido a una imagen sólida y competitiva a nivel internacional. Y entre ellas destaca obviamente la UNIA, nuestra Universidad Internacional de Andalucía, cuya vocación es ser puente entre nuestra región y el resto del mundo. De hecho, la nueva ley universitaria para Andalucía, que ya está en su trámite, la lupa, como la llamamos, es en su trámite parlamentario para ser aprobada a corto plazo, refuerza aún más el papel de esta universidad y la determina como elemento de coordinación de la internacionalización del conjunto de nuestras universidades públicas andaluzas. Y en esta misma norma también se ha atribuido rango de ley a la internacionalización, ya que Andalucía deberá contar con una estrategia universitaria que deberá, a su vez, incluir dentro de su objetivo la internacionalización de nuestro sistema público universitario de la región. La apuesta de nuestras universidades por la movilidad, por la investigación, por las alianzas académicas, está claro que está marcando un camino de crecimiento que posiciona a nuestra tierra como referente en el sur de Europa, ¿no? Y no me extiendo mucho más, agradecer de nuevo a la Universidad Internacional de Andalucía su invitación, felicitar de nuevo al profesor Südhof por esta medalla y por una carrera brillante que sin duda inspira a generaciones posteriores, pero también por su sencillez, por su humildad y por resaltar lo importante de que la ciencia es el fruto de la colaboración entre las personas, el fruto de la colaboración entre las culturas y que es internacional por el bien de la humanidad. Muchísimas gracias.
Thank you, Lorena, for your words and also for the support that the regional government with the support you benefit this university all time. After Professor Südhof's remarks just a few minutes ago, it is not easy to be the one who has to bring this event to a close. He has shared with us his affection for this city and for this campus, an affection which, I have already said, is mutual, Professor. There isn't much we can add to his vision of biomedicine. He clearly speaks from a privileged vantage point, shared by his experience and his profound knowledge of this field. And when it comes to the advice he has offered younger generations, I believe all of us here today can learn from it. Baeza has been a university town for nearly 5 centuries. It was in 1538 that the cleric Rodrigo López launched this educational project, which grew in influence thanks to the involvement of San John of Avila. After its doors closed at the end of the 19th century, higher education returned to Baeza in 1979, first through the University of Granada and later on through this university, the International University of Andalucía. It is true that we are a different kind of university, somewhat unconventional, if you allow me to say so. But we have a clear vocation to create value and to contribute to the public system of superior education. One of our distinctive traits is that we don't have an in-house research staff. That, however, does not diminish our determination to work in and for science. We simply do so in a different way. We do it through our specialized Center for Research Support, a body that brings together all our activity in this area, from academic chairs to academic awards. And within this center, our workshops are the most visible expression of our efforts to promote research and development. We serve as a meeting point for talent, for international talent, for talent from across Spain, and very especially for Andalusian talent. This campus provides the means, the city provides the setting, and people like Thomas Südhof, like many of you in this hall, bring knowledge and generosity. This is how you help us fulfill our mission, I encourage people in this room to consider in the future our workshop series as a way of improving and disseminating your research results. As I said in my opening remarks, this gold medal we are presenting today is not only a tribute to a brilliant scientist. Professor Fernández Chacón has given us a glimpse of the impact of Thomas Südhof's work. Many of you joining us today are uniquely well placed to appreciate his contribution to the field of biomedicine. As an academic and as an economist, I can only begin to grasp the true stature of this researcher. I am certainly not the one to attend a delicate lecture on his issue. What I can and must do to finish is to underline the reasons for this distinction. As I already stressed, we find his human warmth and his generosity very important. We stand on the shoulders of giants because they choose to share what they know with others, because they care for the vocation of younger generation. For me, personally, this has been my first direct contact with Professor Südhof, but I don't need to meet him to know what kind of person he is. This is perfectly clear in the way all you speak about him, in the level of interest and the outstanding profiles of the people gathered here this week for this workshop we have already celebrated. Antes de acabar, quiero dar paso una última vez a nuestro dúo de oboe y piano para interpretar al maestro Falla. Como decía al inicio de mis palabras, en Andalucía sentimos como propias a las personas que nos inspiran, con las que establecemos una especial cercanía. Esta medalla de oro establece un vínculo aún más íntimo entre Thomas Südhof y la Universidad Internacional de Andalucía. Es, si eso es posible, aún más nuestro. Gracias, querido profesor, por ser parte de nuestra institución, por compartir y haber atendido una vez más la llamada de esta casa, por ayudarnos a construir esta ciencia con mayúsculas que habéis construido esta semana con nosotros, por ser una inspiración en lo personal y en lo humano. Ahora y siempre, bienvenido a la Universidad Internacional de Andalucía. Es tu universidad. Muchas gracias y buenas tardes. Y ahora nos iremos todos hacia la famosa escalera de Jabalquinto para tomarnos una foto todos juntos en recuerdo de este día. Muchas gracias.